Welcome back into another episode of George in the Jungle, presented as always by Remington Tavern, coming at you live from the Cincy Light Studios. Remington Tavern can be found at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m., $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. You can check them out on Instagram at RemyTavCincy, that's REMITAV, Cincy with a Y, or follow them on Facebook. While you're there, be sure to grab an ice-cold Cincy Light on tap. Support the people who support us, support the athletes, and really everybody wins. So make sure you get down there, grab yourself Cincy Light. But George, we got sports to talk about.
Yes, sir, Aaron. How you doing?
I'm having a rough go of it. These kids, I'll tell you what, I don't even know what they bring home anymore at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Between daycare and kids in grade school and high school, we got the full gamut. So
hopefully the high schoolers aren't bringing home anything too strange.
I mean, hopefully.
Never mind.
A different story for a different day.
Sorry.
But let's get started here. There's plenty to talk about. Let's start with the probably the biggest game of the past week, I guess, as the Cincinnati Bearcats football team falls on Saturday to the Arizona Wildcats. Final score was 30-24. They still had a shot at the end. You lose the turnover battle to nothing. You really don't get your passing game going until the fourth quarter. I think you had 75 yards before you got into the fourth quarter. You end up with 154 on the day. You doubled it there in the fourth, but I think you doubled it on one drive, actually. But you had 190 rush yards. It was just – it never really felt comfortable for anybody, not for the fans, not for the offense. The defense played well the first half, and then that bend but don't break, it broke in the third, and they had a rough go of it the rest of the game.
Yeah, they couldn't get off the field. Problem number one, and, Sorsby talked about it today, was the first play with that interception and just a terrible decision. Once Satterfield referred to that today, let me see what he said. Oh, he just said, when he was asked about the decision, his quote was, "That was awful." And it was awful. I mean,
he was about as blunt.
Throw that ball away. There were two defenders there. I mean, they had the dude bracketed. Looked like zone to me, and he tries to just float it in there perfectly, and it's impossible to drop it in there. I mean, yeah, maybe 1 out of 100, but that was a bad decision, a bad way to start the game. And then 2-3 plays later, they're running down the field for a 50-yard touchdown. So the defense definitely broke there, but then got it together the rest of the first half. I felt like in the second quarter, even though they did give up some yards, the defense played pretty well. They got some sacks. They got some pressure. They started rushing more than 3 guys in that first quarter. It was a lot of 3-man rush. And when they did that, Fafita was able to just kind of roll out around that guy at the end and have all day to look around. So UC started putting an end to that, but still, as they kept rushing and blitzing, and they were doing pretty well doing that in the second quarter. Third quarter, it worked some, and then there were some breakdowns in that backfield, or Fafita was able to get around because the ends got up the field too far, and that still continues to happen. And bought himself time and was able to find guys. But I don't know. I looked a lot at the defense. I went back over the game yesterday and the defensive snaps is what I looked at. And, man, I don't know. I don't know if they coach these guys to not, get on a guy that's in their zone and just wait till it's thrown. But it's just that defensive backfield is just way too lax for my liking. Now, again, a lot of times Fafita rolled out and had time, but he wasn't that good of a thrower on the run. But sometimes he's able to roll out and set his feet and let it rip. And, you know, it was very disappointing when I went back and looked through that. And, you know, a couple times they blitzed. I want to say it was into the third quarter. It was one of those touchdown plays, and it was 3rd and goal at the 7, and they got decent pressure, but man, somebody in the defensive backfield screwed up so much where they let the guy just run past him instead of helping out there. They didn't help. I don't know what they were doing, and there were a couple plays like that. So if they're going to play championship football, and I know, you know, the season's not lost and there's ways to go, but I think our worst fears about this defense earlier in the season are showing itself now. They're just not good enough.
Yeah, I thought Logan Wilson, as far as defensive back play, I thought he played a great game. I think over the course of the season, by and large, he's been reliable. I feel like it's been the other side, Matthew McDoom and whoever else comes in, whether it's Ormani Arnold or
sometimes it's the young guy, James.
Yeah. So it's been a tough go of it. You saw Daniel James get picked on a little bit. You saw McDoom certainly get picked on. And that's been the case because those are guys who struggle to turn around and make a play on the ball instead of trying to throw their hand up in between the receiver's outstretched arms, and you end up either with a penalty or just making a play.
Yeah, and you know, despite all that bad I just droned on about, because it was disappointing. But they still, if you do this, if you don't have those turnovers, and UC makes the plays Arizona did. Fafita made a couple great throws. He got a lot. He got some help on one of the big catches that they made for him down the field. It was the defense was there on that play. There was pretty good coverage, and the kid made a great catch and a great throw. And then you flip it around and you see a couple of the balls UC dropped, and the one later in to Jennings was a killer. That play was there. That was going to be a big play. And so if those get flipped around, UC still wins this game or comes very close to winning it. But Arizona made those plays. For whatever reason, UC didn't. And UC has no margin for error like that. None. When, you know, your defense flat out cannot get off the field. And when they did get off the field, I can't remember how that first drive went in the third quarter. But then it was, a 3 and out and right back to Arizona with the ball again. So, you know, it kind of works both ways. But, man, oh, man, I just – when in the off season, I'm going to be going to sleep thinking about this season. All I'm going to see is a dog-tired defense on that field for 60 minutes of what seems like every game.
Yeah, they were on the field for 36 in this one. But, yeah, more often than not, they're close to double what the offense is out there for.
But now I can complain about the offense if you want, because you start off running the ball like you do, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, Arizona starts stacking it up in there a little bit in the box, and you got to find a way to counter that. And, you know, UC didn't run for anything after. I mean, you take away Walker's 2 big runs, and, you know, the freshman looked good. I mean, he's definitely promising. That kid's got a future.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked really good. But, you know, they didn't throw the ball well. And when they're stacking it like that, you got to find a way to counter it, and UC couldn't do it. So that was very disappointing too. The offense should be further along than that, in my opinion, given you have a line that earlier this year was playing lights out and still seems to be doing a pretty decent job.
Yeah, we had over 100 yards, I believe, in the first quarter, and on 5 carries. And after that, he ends up with 119 on 12 carries. So that.
Yeah, he probably had about half of their yards rushing on those 2 long runs. It was probably about 90 yards on those 2 runs. So It was close.
I don't know. I mean, thought that today at the podium in the presser, Scott was about as blunt on this team as he's been. I know he has a tendency to kind of get into that Southern gee golly all shucks type mode, but today he just kind of said we sucked. We had opportunities and we didn't execute. We didn't do the things that we needed to do. When you have it wasn't just one player, it was everybody. You need to make the play, you need to make the catch, you need to come down with the ball, you need to throw the ball where it needs to be. He was calling out everybody, and
yeah, he's right, and I'm glad to hear him do that. And he's frustrated. I mean, that was
he should
a frustrated man up there at the mic.
Yeah,
they work on this stuff.
I'm looking at the final stat sheet. Satterfield today said that there were probably 4 or 5 drops that cost them the game, and I think he's right. I think those are the plays that if you get those back and you make those plays, that's the difference. It was a 1-score game. But in the final stat sheet, there's only 1 drop.
Right.
So the statistician was apparently super kind to the Bearcats here.
Yeah, there was more than one. There was definitely one big one, but there were a couple others. And also that pass to Cyrus Allen over the top, and man, they almost hit that play. That was freaking interference. I don't know if you saw the replay. I saw it yesterday, and
the only replay I get to see from where I'm at in the box, I can't see any of the TVs up in the box. So the only TV I can see is the jumbotron, and that's if I'm not shooting a tweet out about something or writing a note down or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I checked it out and I saw. Yeah, it was in the second quarter. Here's my notes. No call on Cyrus Allen, long pass attempt. Definitely pass interference. Didn't get called. They sure as hell didn't get any calls going the other way on pass interference. I'll tell you that.
I didn't think the referees were terrible in this one. We've certainly seen our fair share of terrible refereeing this season. I was okay with what happened on Saturday.
Yeah, the bad one was the one where McDoom did get the pick in the end zone, and I still don't see interference on that play.
Earlier in the season, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard people say like he had him by the arm, and I looked at every angle possible, and I don't see it.
The big thing though here is you go 3 of 12 on 3rd down. Now, of course, you did capitalize on 4th down, 3 of 4, so you turned half of those. You end up extending drives on half of those 12. But in any case,
that first 4th down call was pretty I mean, that took some stones really, and they converted. I think that was the Sorsby keeper.
The only 4th down you didn't convert was there at the last one of the game.
Yeah, that one though, that was I don't know, where were they? Were they on their own 40 maybe? Somewhere around there, 30 something,
38.
That was an absolute, and that I think that was the first touchdown drive. I could be wrong, but I think it was.
Let's see, drives. The first touchdown for Cincinnati was the 2nd drive and the 3rd drive. So, I don't 6 plays and 5 plays.
That may not be it. I thought they got a touchdown on that drive. Maybe that was did they punt on that first? I can't remember. And I wasn't even drinking.
The first was the pick.
Oh God, that's right. But yeah, I mean, pass rush when they started sending more than 3 was working. It's just they got upfield too far a couple times, and I don't know. There was some poor tackling again that really cost them.
Yeah, and against BYU, you got a quarterback who Scott Springer, the writer for the Enquirer, compared when speaking to Jack Dingle, compared him to his size. So you got a guy who's the size of a linebacker out there running around.
6'4", 230, 240, somewhere in there. He's big. I saw him Saturday night. I don't know if you watched any of that game Saturday night, but holy God. When I saw him and that running back and their size And I mean, they're bowling balls. They get ahead of steam, and they're a load.
If you're a team that struggles to wrap up, it's going to be tough sledding.
It's going to be really tough.
You have to just get back to the fundamentals. It's not as if they haven't. I don't think Cincinnati struggled to have hats on the ball. So you have to make sure that you're doing the things that you need to do just fundamentally. It goes back to when you're a cornerback. If you're there just hanging out and you're waiting to put your hand up, turn around and make a play on the ball.
Yep. Well, yeah, another weird thing, I'm watching that game. This dude is a big dude. He's a freshman, this Bear Bachmeier, the quarterback, and he wears number 47, which makes him look more like a linebacker or something.
Yeah.
I mean, you see that number, and he's playing quarterback. And then his running back, L.J. Martin's a big dude too. I mean, they are a wicked 1-2 punch. And you look at their stats, and they don't have gaudy stats, but more than respectable. And, the whole, the season's been more than respectable. I mean, they seem to be getting better. And maybe part of that is this freshman getting his feet under him and knowing more and more of what he's doing. But he comes from a great athletic family, and he's Bear. There's a brother, Tiger, who I think is still on the team. Then there's another guy with a name that's kind of in that genre. I don't know what's going on, but apparently they were all born to play football.
Yeah, Scott said today they have the 13th best pass efficiency in the nation, coming off of Arizona at 6 and Utah at 5. So three really good defensive teams playing really well against Cincinnati's best weapon, which I think is the pass game. That said, you should have Evan Pryor back on Saturday, which should give you a big boost to both your pass game and your run game. And then you should also have Caleb Goody back, which that's a guy who can take the top off of any defense in this country. I don't believe anybody can run with him.
Well, I am definitely going to be looking for a UC bounce back. I think they can do it. I hope they will do it. I'm going to see if they can do it, but I'm not going to count it out. I'm going to say the Bearcats bounce back and play much better football this week, and they're going to need to, because this team is playing well. I mean, the TCU is probably their best looking win on Saturday night. Texas Tech handled them, but before that, I mean, they beat Iowa State by like 14 and a couple, but they hadn't really been blowing people out. They've been winning, and that's all that matters. But this was kind of a blowout. They put this one to bed.
Well, it is nip at night on Saturday, 8 o'clock against BYU. You also have big noon kickoff here at noon. I guess earlier than that on Saturday. And then you have senior night as well. And two big seniors that are going to be 22 guys altogether, but 2 guys who have been here since I started covering the beat, Dante Corleone and Gavin Gerhardt.
Yes. And those guys have poured their heart and soul into this thing. And, that's going to be tough to see them go, because they've been true Bearcats, no doubt about it. And guys who have elevated the program, everything about it. And, God bless Gerhardt for everything he's done. And I guess, he will, you don't count chickens, but does he tie the record for most starts by a center at UC this week?
I think most starts.
That's crazy. Good for him. And it was interesting listening to him talk about that today. And it was also interesting to hear Dingle talk about what it means to his family for his last game. Like, they're already talking about, what do we do on Saturdays next year? Yeah. We don't have the same hookup we do, but I'm sure we'll see them at Bearcat football games next fall.
Well, Chad said earlier tonight that between Corleone and Gerhardt, he doesn't know in 19 years, I think Chad said he's been covering. He doesn't know that he's seen Cincinnati mean as much to anybody else than those two guys in the time that he's been covering.
Yeah, it's. I mean, they've been wonderful, and you know that they have taught the guys that are on that team and under their watch well, and hopefully there's some other guys able to pick up that torch of leadership and keep this thing moving forward.
Yep. So make sure that you do get down there. Make sure that you cheer loud. Make Nip at Night something for those seniors to remember, because it should be a fun game, regardless of how it ends up. Obviously, you want the good guys to win, and by good guys, I mean the team from here, not from Utah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I know you're looking forward to it. First Nip at Night, and we didn't have a Nip at Night last season. First Nip at Night this season. So it's been at least 2 seasons since we've had one of these. So they're becoming
better.
Rare.
UC had one conference loss and still controlled their own destiny in this
Sure.
thing. That's it. I mean, can you imagine how juiced this crowd would be if they would have come back and had a nice win against Arizona? But I still expect it to be electric. I hope it is.
Well, you still have an opportunity, and that opportunity goes by the wayside if you cannot beat BYU. So you still have an opportunity to get in. Just some things that start falling your way.
Right.
In any case, that's football since the last time you and I talked. As far as basketball goes, we had a game on
Sunday,
yeah, against Mount St. Mary's. Because we already talked about Dayton, right? I think.
Yeah, we did Dayton last Tuesday.
Yeah. So 72-55 is your final against Mount St. Mary's. Not a pretty win, George. They didn't.
Oh man, no. The first 20 minutes weren't pretty at all.
You could probably take that even further than 20. I don't know that.
Yeah, you can.
Might be the first 30.
I'll tell you what I thought turned that game around for them was defense, man. I mean, it was and they played good defense in that second half. I think they ended up giving up maybe 19 points. That night I was drinking, so I can't tell you if I remember all this stuff for sure. Yeah, I'm sitting there, and then all of a sudden they start getting these bust outs, and but that was all predicated on defense. I was kind of mad that they didn't play better defensively, and Mount St. Mary's was hot. They were hitting pretty much every open shot they took in that first half. They shot the three really well in the first half. But, you know, they were getting clean looks, too many clean looks. And so it was good to see. I'll tell you what, I looked over at Negative Phil and I said, you know what? For all this yapping Wes does about defense, this team plays crappy defense, and they never win when they play crappy defense. And right then, it just turned around. So I'll say that in the first half down at Heritage Bank on Friday when Louisville rolls in. But, yeah, their defense, I felt like sparked some things, and then they really got it going offensively, shot better. You know, Thomas hits those 2 threes, and more on him in a minute. You know, finally they started playing the way you thought they would play in a game like this. And you're going to have some clunkers and stuff, but it's kind of you know, when you have a game, and they did clean up the turnovers a little bit. There were still some that were just, again, you know, maybe they're acceptable to some people. They're not to me, because I don't care how fast you're playing. It's not that hard to pass the ball to a guy who's open, or find a guy who's open, or not pass it to the guy if he's not open.
Yeah, but they did clean up turnovers. You only had 10 in this one.
0 is the number I'm after. I know I'm after 0. You got to value every possession.
I understand. And I think they did a much better job protecting the ball this game.
They did.
That said, they did not shoot well. You end up 37.5% from the field. You missed 40 shots, going 24-64. 20.7% from 3, 6 of 29, and 18 of 30 from the free throw line, good enough for 60%. It's free throws have been a tough go thus far
and
this season.
I don't know why. I don't. I know these guys are better shooters than that.
But as far as threes go, I mean, Krisa was 1 of 9, Shanabayev 0 for 6, Cham 0 for 3, Baba 0 for 1, Buck 0 for 1, Celestine 0 for 3. So that's a lot of missed shots between all of those guys.
Yeah, and you would think, Krisa and Abayev are not going to have many of those nights. You wouldn't think. I mean, they're both pretty good shooters. Sean being a freshman, I just kind of,
It's good with the bad.
Do and damned if you don't. You don't want him to dial it back too much, right? You don't, and I don't think he'll ever be shy. I'm becoming convinced he hasn't seen a shot he doesn't like. I'm becoming convinced of that. But
you'd rather be that than be afraid to shoot the ball, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's just some nights after you miss 2 or 3, I don't know. Maybe you want to dial it back, but those guys aren't wired like that. They think they're going to make them all. And so you're going to have some nights where you run into this stuff. But, thank goodness Thomas was able to pick up some slack in that area because everybody else was off that night. And that's becoming more of a thing. I don't know what's going on with him, but I started looking up some stuff. And he's been shooting the 3 ball so well since
really well.
And it's carried over. Like at the end of last year, he was really, really good. I went back and looked, and he had like 3 games in the second half of the season. He had 2 where he was 1 for 6 from 3. So that's 2 of 12. And then another 1 of 7. So that's 3 of 19. You take those 3 games out, and he shot 50% or 60% from 3 the second half of the season last year, and then has carried that over where he's shooting 60% this year. What's going on there?
It was well documented that last season he started working after practice with the shot doctor that we brought in, and he put in, as far as I know, he put in more work than anybody with the shot doctor.
Oh, wow. I mean, he's an option out. He's option number 1 out there right now. He should be taking those 3-pointers.
That we talk all that about Day Thomas, and I think you saw kind of the same out of Keyshawn Tillery in his minutes. He had as much of a bounce back game as anybody from the last game, because the last game he looked like a complete freshman. Didn't look like he knew what the speed was of the game, and he comes back in the very next game, goes 3 of 6 for 9 points, 2 of 3 from 3, got to the free throw line, 3 rebounds. He had a decent game for
he made a difference.
Freshman point guard.
Yes, he made a difference, and he honestly neither he nor Sean, neither one looks like a freshman just playing their first college games. They don't,
They've had their moments where they have. I mean, the whole first half, Shanabayev did. The whole last game, in the 5 minutes that Tillery played, he did.
Yeah, he had a bad stretch there. He did, and that's
Shanabayev. In his second game, Abayev had 4 points. So there's been moments, but again, I think the confidence is still there. It's not chipping away or seems to be eating away at the confidence of either of these guys. Tillery was driving to the hole, and he did everything but actually make the layup in this past game. So if he can start to make those, that should, make a difference for him as well. I think you were 6 of 15, if I'm not mistaken.
I felt like that was a big point in this game too. I talked about the defense, and when they finally started really playing it and creating some things, I thought that was big in turning this game around. But also going to the basket, and driving and doing things like that. I felt like they started doing that a lot better down the stretch too, and that made a world of difference. And they've got guys who and Tillery being one of them, but certainly Harris being one, guys who aren't afraid to do that. They like to do that. And I'm the more the merrier on that. Now they just got the rebounding thing straightened up, but and hopefully they do, because that's something that's want to stuff.
That's kind of the difference between last year's team and this year's team. Is last year's team would have tried to continue to shoot themselves out of the slump, whereas this year's team decided to start going downhill, and that's where they ended up getting the lead back, despite 6 of 15 from layup. So that's I don't know. I mean, you talk about the rebounding. They were down 21-20 at half. They end up winning the rebounding battle 46-36, so plus 10. You probably want more than 15 offensive rebounds if you're missing 40 against Mount St. Mary's, because Mount St. Mary's wasn't a big team unless that I think his name was Diop was out there.
Yeah, I definitely on the offensive end that's been lacking, and that was something that kind of stood out early last year when Dylan Mitchell was doing his thing, and it looked like they might end up being a pretty good offensive rebounding team, which certainly wasn't enough to save them last year. Lord knows they had a lot of opportunity because there were a lot of misses, but they do have to get better at that. And Troy McKinley missed a lot of the game. He played a little bit, but I don't know what the deal was there. They said he didn't quite feel right, so there was no really. What was it?
Tyler McKinley, not Troy.
Tyler, yeah. Why did I say Troy? Where did I get that?
I don't know.
That's like a guy who played college or played high school basketball in Northern Kentucky back in the 70s or 80s and went to Kentucky. But Tyler McKinley. Boy, oh boy, that was I'm going to have to do some research here and see where that came from. But
the Wayback Machine.
Tyler is a throwback, though. He's like a offensive board, defensive board, elbows out, just hungry for the ball kind of guy when it goes up. So they probably missed that a little bit. But you can't, just rely on one guy to make that a thing. They all got to hit those boards on the offensive end.
Yeah, Tyler, they said something just felt off with him. He felt off. So they're being extremely cautious with bringing him back from the injury from last year, as well they should. You don't need him out there that badly that you risk screwing something up. So I'm good with it. They said that they don't think it'll be anything that keeps him out for any extended period of time. So I won't be surprised if he's back in there again against Louisville on Friday. But that's your next game. After obviously you win this game by 17. I don't know how you won by 17. You just came alive in the last 10 minutes and took the lead back and never really let it go. But you can't play that type of a game against Louisville on Friday.
No. Pat Kelsey's got it cooking down there, and he's got some talent. And that Michael Brown looks like a keeper and then some. So it's he's not real big either, but god dang, he can shoot. Yeah, they got a team, and we'll see what it's like down there. I wonder what I saw a lot of games back in I guess it would have been the late 70s, early 80s at the old Coliseum, which is now Heritage Bank Center. Louisville and Cincinnati, man. Those were big games down there, no matter what, because Louisville, won a national championship in 80 and again in 86. So those were high-profile games then, and this will be a high-profile one Friday night.
Yeah, Louisville, they started off against South Carolina State. They win 104-45. They played Jackson State. They win 106-70. They played Kentucky and won 96-88. And then they played Ohio University and won 106-81. They're averaging 103 a game. They're averaging 50% field goal percentage, although Cincinnati's at 44, not terrible. 44 rebounds per game compared to Cincinnati's 41. I don't know, 11 steals per game. I'm not going to love the turnovers, I don't think, in this one, but we'll see. Number 6 in the country is nothing to be taken lightly, and maybe that's a little of what happened against Mount St. Mary's. You obviously don't hope that the team's looking ahead to the game on Friday.
Right.
I don't know what the ticket situation is currently because it doesn't look like they're selling a ton of tickets down at Old Heritage Bank Arena, George.
No, I expect, and that's a shame. But I get it. I'm not going to tell anyone how or what they should spend to go see a basketball game. But Louisville will probably have as many fans as UC has looking at what's going on and a lot of people, like friends of mine, they're season ticket holders, and then they just sort of half assume this game's going to be in there and it's not. And then it's like, well, I already bought season tickets. I don't want to pay more of it. You got that going on too. And I get it, but I also get it from UC's perspective, what they're trying to do. And I don't know how these things play out and how the money and all that works out. Is it really worth it, or would it just be better to just do a straight home and play here and at the Yum Center,
I don't have the answer to that. That's above my pay grade.
Yeah, mine too. And I guess I should have looked it up. But
at the end of the day,
Louisville schedule up there.
I can grab it. Yeah,
I'm just curious on South Carolina State because our old friend Eric Martin, the former UC player, is the head coach down there, and I would like to think that Kelsey took it, didn't run it up on him, but I don't know because I guarantee you those two know each other.
104-45.
He ran it up. Oh, jeez. I'll have to ask Eric about that next time I talk to him. Yeah, he ran it up all right.
Yeah. But I don't know. I guess if Cincinnati had an arena that was worth a damn downtown, or even if you took it out of town's a far bigger ask.
Right.
And you're doing some of those things with Georgia and Clemson later on this non-con.
Everybody's doing this stuff, so there's got to be something to it. I don't know. Maybe it works better in other places, but and they are better arenas than what they're going to be playing in Friday night. Let's face it. That thing should have been updated or imploded 20 years ago, if not 40.
I don't disagree there. And I don't know. For me, I don't know that you can do this every single season. You did it last year with Dayton. So how are we doing this every year where you're going to have to you pay for your season tickets, and then you have to pay for these individual game tickets if you want to go, and then you have to pay for any other away games that you want to go. It's just a lot. And you're, by the way, also asking them to contribute to the fans to the NIL fundraiser to pay the players on top of all of those other things. It's a big ask.
It is.
Fans.
It really is. I can't fault anyone for, giving it a pass. I get it. I totally get it. But I know the Dayton atmosphere last year was pretty darn good at this game. Because that was a fun time.
For Dayton, though, you leave Dayton. And look, as a guy who went to college in Dayton at Wright State, getting out of Dayton was a great thing. Going anywhere else to have a good time out of Dayton was a good thing. So, yeah, they get out of Dayton and you go to Cincinnati and you get to make a weekend of it. For Louisville, though, Louisville's a fun city. I don't know that I'm coming up to go to the grand venue of Heritage Bank Arena.
Right. I agree. But I think they will. I think they're pretty excited about this team. And when Louisville basketball fans are excited about something, they will they'll put it out there. They'll follow. I just don't want to hear them. Oh my God. I remember walking into the Shoemaker Center. This was about 10, 15 years ago before the upgrade, and walking behind these Louisville fans from Short Vine. And they were talking about, we get to go into this high school gymnasium. They don't have anything. And this was right after Yum opened. I go, you know what, buddy? Last time I checked, our city's got a freaking NFL stadium down on the banks and a Major League Baseball stadium. You've got what again? He didn't like it.
The Yum Center. But when they go back to Louisville next year, they will not be in the Yum Center.
Minor League Baseball stadium that is a Reds affiliate, and they don't have anything in football. Maybe they have an indoor team. They did have one.
When they go back, though, they won't be in the Yum Center. They'll be at a similar venue.
Freedom Hall, somewhere between like a tractor pull and a horse show. I'm not kidding. I walked in to Freedom Hall, and there were cattle in stalls outside. They were having some other thing in the exhibition center, and there's just like cow manure right here as you're walking in the gate to go in and watch UC and Louisville play basketball. That was probably back in the 80s. That happened.
Super fun.
Yeah.
In any case, 6:30, we'll find out. That game will be on, looks like ESPNU, ESPN Plus. Check out that game, though, at 6:30 on Friday.
You want one last fun thing on Day-Day's stats that I looked up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Down here at the bottom. So this year, he's 11 of 18 from 3, 3 of 15 from 2-point range. Explain that one. 3 of 15.
Well, a lot of threes are in rhythm, catch and shoot, as opposed to
he's driving and throwing stuff. I know, but it's kind of interesting when you look at it. And since the beginning of the Crown tournament last year, 63% from 3. Small sample, 19 of 30, but the man's shooting the lights out from 3.
Crazy to think that since I was a kid, and even going further back, since you were a kid, that the 3-pointer has become a higher percentage shot than a 2-pointer in a lot of cases.
Yeah, the minute I saw that in the American Basketball Association, I'm like, I love this rule. I love the 3-point shot the first time I saw it.
Bananas. Well, we will switch gears here and talk about the other football team in the city that falls to 3-7 in what became at the end of the game a bit of a blowout. 34-12 is your final as the Pittsburgh Steelers win at home against the Cincinnati Bengals in what just turned out to be not a fun game to watch.
No, it didn't feel good from the time that big tight end took the ball late in the first half. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the heck you would say he made Geno Stone look like. And he stiff-armed Barrett Carter and knocked him to the turf. And then Geno looked like just a little helicopter blade whirling past him.
Do you remember when the mascots played on the field with the kids?
Yes.
And I believe it was Bearcat who just ran over everybody. It looked like that is what it looked like. Darnell Washington just stiff-arming these kids and kicking them off of his leg and just bulldozing his way down the field. That's a giant human.
The only like Derrick Henry I've seen do that with some guys, but to do it to 2 guys on one play the way he did, and then when he finally gets knocked out of bounds, was it Turner? They went flying 10 yards into the bench because he hit them.
Well, because DJ Turner, and smartly, I think, actually, just starts punching the ball. He wasn't even trying to tackle him at that point.
No, I know.
Punching the ball. But, yeah, Darnell Washington listed at 6'7", 264. I think he's 6'7", 300. That is a giant human.
He's a big man, and I don't know. My guess is he'll be seeing the ball a little bit more after that thing. But But that just kind of epitomized what was going on in that game. And even though the Bengals, even late in the third quarter with the ball and a chance to take the lead and all that stuff, it still just felt like they were getting beat physically. The tackling in this game, that play epitomized the tackling in this game. Their tackling was awful again, and it has been for a while. And then, the pick six from a guy who, the Steelers just pick up from the Patriots a couple weeks ago. And you knew it was over then. You just knew it was over. They were imposing their will, and that's kind of what happened to the Bengals. And on top of that, you're missing your best defensive player. Obviously, Flacco's playing quarterback. You get Jalen Ramsey out of the game, that's good, but that gets Jamar Chase out of the game this week.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey fits the profile of a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Yes.
It's funny to me that Jalen Ramsey has been in the league long enough to get under the skin of one of the Bengals players who I thought was about as calm and reserved as we've ever had in AJ Green.
Right.
And he had never reacted to anyone in the way that he reacted to Jalen Ramsey when he throws a punch at him, as he's a member of the Jacksonville Jaguars way back then. But then here we are, fast forward to Jalen Ramsey playing with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and once again, just you saw it happening. You saw it in real time. It was the play, the very play before you had the incident with Jamar Chase. But they're just jawing, and who knows what's being said as they're both jawing at each other. And Jamar Chase ends up spitting on Jalen Ramsey. He says he didn't do it in the post game, and now he's going to be appealing it, and we'll see what that leads to, because Jay Morrison had an article out today about how it'd be unprecedented to actually suspend anybody. No one has ever been suspended for a game at this point for spitting. There was a guy who was ejected from a game, and they let that count as the 1 game suspension, but that's still not a 1 game suspension. Call it what you will. I don't know what you do with it. You obviously don't want guys spitting on each other. That's a little ridiculous. But I still, you don't know what was said.
Yeah, I mean, I know when the AJ thing happened, he really probably went to some places with AJ that he shouldn't have gone.
I don't doubt that.
Yes. AJ would never, ever. That was so out of character. And this guy, I from what I understand, I'll just say maybe involves some family members of AJ's and stuff he said. It was going that route, and finally enough was enough when he definitely crossed a line. But you're playing football and you're trying to get this guy out of the game and all that. I don't know what you do. I mean, you cross that line, and how do you retaliate? You try to beat him up there on the scoreboard, I guess. Jamar shouldn't have done what he did. I saw it. I saw the video. I was actually proud of him at first when he's standing there with his arms down to his side, and this guy goes nuts, and he just stands there like this. And I'm like, I texted my friends. I'm like, hey, I'm proud of Jamar just standing there with his arms down his side. And then after the game, when this comes out, it's like, no wonder he did that. Yeah. He wasn't quite Mr. Innocent in this thing. And that's a shame. I mean, you can't do that. It's kind of funny, though. All the stuff that happens and I guess it's in the heat of the moment, during the battle, the stuff that goes on in piles, and the grabbing of this and the grabbing of that, and I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff. But somehow spitting is the be-all, end-all. That is the line, and I kind of get it. But boy, a lot of stuff goes on in those line of scrimmages and those scrums that, it's like, really.
especially between these two teams. This isn't the first incident we've seen between the Bengals and the Steelers. It will not be the last incident that we see between the Bengals and the Steelers. There is one common denominator in all of those games, and that's Mike Tomlin, by the way. At least as far back as I'm referencing. But you've seen things that have gone by without being really penalized, as you saw a coach grab a player's hair. You've seen a coach enter a team huddle for the opposite team. You've seen just strange things in this rivalry here. And it seems that more often than not, one team gets caught with their hand in the cookie jar while the other team just laughs at that other team who's been busted.
Yeah. This time, though, it was the Steelers with the hand in the cookie jar because Ramsey got ejected and nobody knew what had happened until after the game. So, now the Bengals are going to pay for that this week, but with New England coming in, I don't know if it matters or not.
I don't think it did.
But, yeah, historically, it's been the other way around. And the Steelers clearly goaded the Bengals into taking some really horrific penalties in that playoff game. They only happened to knock Carson Palmer out of the game on the first drive by throwing a helmet into his knee by a former Bengal who
Chris Henry,
one of the nicest guys in the world.
Chris Henry on that same play also.
Yeah. Yep. So it's, you go back to the thing with Keith Rivers getting the broken jaw, and it just goes on and on. Hines Ward with the hit on that, the blindside block, which actually kind of was one of the things that started leading to that rule getting changed with those blindside blocks after change of possession and stuff. So, it definitely seems like they've gotten the best of all those things. When you put it all in the kettle, it seems like seems like they get away with it. That's for sure.
It's just crazy. But yeah, offensively, the team never really looked good in this one. You only have 200 yards passing, only 105 yards rushing. Defensively, you also lost a fumble from Noah Fant. Defensively, they couldn't. It didn't matter if it was Darnell Washington or anyone else for that matter. You couldn't tackle Gainwell. You couldn't tackle Tyler Warren when he was in. You couldn't tackle anybody. I'm sorry, Jalen Warren. I pulled a U on that one.
No, I was going to do it, and I'm sitting there. I'm going to look like an absolute prick.
Nope.
If I got him on this.
I got you. Aaron Rodgers breaks
because I'm sitting here and I'm like, no, I'm gonna let it go. And then
Aaron Rodgers
falls after the show.
Aaron Rodgers breaks his hand in this one. So we'll see how long he's out. It seems like it's a hairline, so who knows how quickly he bounces back with his special healing that he's allowed to get.
He hasn't looked all that great lately anyway. I mean, he just really hasn't. And that's fine. I still think the Ravens are going to win that division.
But in any case, the only good news, I guess, to come out of this week is that Joe Burrow says that regardless of what the team's record is, he will be coming back when he is given the green light, and we'll see when that may be. I believe there's
next week. I mean, he's going to be doing 7-on-7s tomorrow, they said. So it seems like he's trending the next week. And there's a lot of talk about should you let him, should you not? I mean, people I respect tell me there is no way in the world you should let this guy come back and play this year after that surgery with this season gone. I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I don't think the organization is going to step in and say you're not going to play. If he wants to play, I think he'll probably play. Is it the right thing to do? Me as the player, it's the right thing to do. I'm playing. I am playing. I'm going out there, and not only is it a chance to get that injury behind you and get back in the flow, you got a chance to get better. And you're out there being paid to entertain and do a job. And if I'm the player, I'm playing.
What kind of message does that send to your team? If you're sending everybody else out there, but you're not going to be sending Joe Burrow out there healthy, but you still want everybody else to give it 100%.
Agree. And I think Joe sees it that way. I think he expects anyone else that's come up. Let's say Joe didn't get injured and the record's still 3-7 or whatever the hell it is. And his top offensive lineman was injured earlier in the year and has a chance to come back and play, but says, no, I'm going to wait till next year. By the way, Joe, I hope that rookie can block this week. No, he's going to expect that guy to get his butt in there and play.
Well, who was it that played in a playoff game with a broken leg? Was it Orlando Brown?
Yeah. Wasn't it?
I think so. And with a broken leg. Like, so you got guys out there doing that kind of thing. If you're healthy and good to go, and you're, by the way, the highest paid player on this team, the de facto leader on this team, you have to go out there and you have to go out there.
I think so. I now, is that the smartest thing to do? I don't know. You can get hurt anytime, and maybe he is injury prone. I think he's wanting to try to put that behind him and prove he's not. I don't think he has any control over that, though. I think that's just, things happen, and these are all like different injuries. I mean, was he injury prone on that first injury? No, anyone would have had their knee blown out on that hit. I mean, I wouldn't be walking yet if I'd had that hit. So they're all legit injuries. It's not because he's some, chandelier. It's not that he's, prone to it. These things happen. It's football. So I don't know. I can't see him staying out. And then, they've got some. I mean, Trey's not going to be back this week. Jamar could be suspended. I'm guessing he probably will be. Cam Taylor-Britt's out, and you've got the hottest team in the AFC coming in.
Yeah.
These are the things that set up for monumental upsets, by the way.
We'll see. 9-2 Patriots come into town against the lowly 3-7 Bengals. New England currently favored by 8. That one kicks off at 1:00 on Sunday. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I'm almost shocked it's only 8.
I don't feel good about it, but it's been a weird season.
I don't either, but the NFL has thrown some crazy upsets out there.
Yeah, I still can't.
Jets have 2 wins now.
Oh, that's also crazy. Justin Fields even got benched, but anyway, I'm gonna skip anything we had on the Reds. We're already at 58 minutes here, and it was just kind of filler stuff anyway. FC Cincinnati, they play their next round here
Sunday.
Where they host
commercials.
Yeah, the monster truck. But Messi and Inter Miami will be here.
Drag racing.
5:00 on Sunday.
Drag racing.
On Apple TV. How are you feeling about this one, George?
I don't know. I mean, it's a Cincinnati played well against Miami, but I think they missed a big man in one of those, and it was they beat them here, had a draw down there. I don't know. I think Cincinnati's trending up. I think they're playing pretty darn well. Things got out of hand in that one playoff game, but they kind of packed it in and was gearing up for the next one, and they got the next one. So I'll give them a slight edge. They are home.
They are. Both teams have won 4 of their last 5. We'll see what happens. Was there something else that you wanted to discuss with FC Cincinnati? I know we weren't going to do the table thing.
Oh, the MLS changed their calendar year. So starting in July of 2027, so the year after next, the MLS season will start in July, late July, and run through the following May, with the playoffs in May or ending in late May. And I guess it gets them more in alignment with the world soccer schedule. And I mean, you're still going to have some of these international windows and that stuff. They're taking off from December to February.
Winter break.
Some of it for obvious reasons, some of it. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because there's a lot of cold weather venues and you're playing in February and December. So we'll see how all that works out. Of course, they do start in late February now. So we'll see how that works out. And they have a mini season after, would it be next regular season? Then they're going to do like where did I put that? It's I forgot. They were doing, a 14-game mini season from February to May of 2027 before they kick off. That way they don't really lose a whole season, because they would kind of lose a whole season if they just went from the one without the other. So they do a mini season.
Well, if you're worried about like weather, I wonder if this is similar to the Premier League as far as the season goes. I mean, those are all cold venue. I mean, they're in like England, and so I mean that's about as cold as it gets.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I know that they're talking about potentially moving everybody into one table. We'll see if that ends up being voted upon, if that is something that they move
that's
forward with.
They were considering.
But we'll get to that if that becomes a thing that we need to talk about. But other than that, let's get to some high school football, because I know there was at least one insane game this past weekend.
Oh my gosh, that Elder game. That was incredible. Incredible finish.
Crazy.
I mean, what did they have in the final? They had the block field goal that Princeton took back for a touchdown.
Yeah.
And like an Elder a touchdown, an onside kick.
2-point conversion.
Yeah. 2-point conversion. It was nuts. Craziest game you'll ever see. And Elder pulls it out after trailing 23-0. And that's high school football for you. I mean, you see things. Every time I go along, I'll see something I won't see again.
A heartbreaker for Princeton.
Yeah.
And
great season, and almost hung Elder with their first loss and knocked them out.
Man.
So now it sets up Elder and St. X. Elder beat X this year by 10 earlier in the regular season, and they moved that game to Paycor Stadium.
As they should have, because having it, why you would ever have two teams playing in a venue smaller than either of their own at Mason. Instead, now you're having it down at Paycor. Well done.
I'm telling
you should be doing it.
Yes, thank God they called an audible there, because I'm guessing Nippert maybe couldn't be available because of the game Saturday night.
Yeah.
Because you can have playoff games in Nippert, or a school can have them there. There's a misconception, like third-party promoters can't have an event there. But if the Ohio Athletic Association has one of their events, they can have it there. At least that's how the rule was the last I saw it. You know how stuff changes. But why they didn't exhaust every opportunity to have it at a bigger place before they announced it at Mason, I don't know, but at least that's where they're going to play it. And interesting enough, it'll be Friday evening, just as you see in Louisville tipping off right down at the other end of the bank. So it'll be a wild night at the banks, because I'm sure they'll get a good crowd down there. So that's the regional final, which is like the state quarterfinals.
Does that make you wonder if they should have never moved the tip-off time from 8:30 to 6:30 to begin with for Louisville, Cincinnati? Because you potentially could have had people trickling in from either trying to get out of the cold, or if it's a blowout, just we're done here. Let's go to the other one.
Yeah, you could. Yeah. I hope it's not the other way. We're trickling out of Heritage Bank to go down and watch a football game. I'm thinking negatively. But yeah, that's the Division I regional final. Division II, you've got Anderson playing Trotwood, Madison. Division IV, Indian Hill alive against Valley View. Kentucky has Ryle in 6A, Covcath playing in 4A, Highlands hosting a game in 4A. Who else? Lloyd, 12-0. Chad's Lloyd Juggernauts. 12-0 hosting Russell in 3A. 2A, Beechwood still alive hosting the game, and Newport and Newcath each playing state quarterfinal games in 1A. And Milan still alive in Indiana in the state semifinals. But yes, a lot of eyes will be on that game at Paycor Stadium. Boy, I'll tell you, Princeton came that close to knocking off Elder and handing the Panthers their first loss. So we'll see how X fares against them this time. Those are always great battles, and I'm sure this will be too.
They should just have the regional at one of these big between Nippert and Paycor or Payjo or whatever.
I don't know why that should be a fairly safe assumption. I
book it.
This is probably unfair, and there's some people I really respect and like will hate me for this, but it just seems like the State Athletic Association, when it gets down below Dayton and in this corner, it just, whatever happens. They don't care.
Which is where some of your best football is played at in the entire state.
Correct. Best crowd, best fans, you name it.
Well, on that note, that's going to wrap things up here for us on this week's show. I'm glad my coughing didn't interrupt us too often.
No, you made it through, and I told you we'd go short, and we're way long because you said I talk too much. But
I'll get out of here. In any case, that's going to wrap things up here for us on George in the Jungle. Thanks as always to our sponsors, Cincy Light and Remington Tavern. Remington Tavern can be found at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m., $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. Check them out on Instagram at Remington Cincy or follow them on Facebook. But for George Vogel, I'm Aaron Smith. We'll be back here next Tuesday at 9 o'clock talking all of your Cincinnati sports.
Thank you, Aaron.